Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is have a State of the Collection 2024 and sort of explain something about my collection. I don't want to go into too much detail and put everybody to sleep. Just a few of you who need a nap anyway. Okay, to get started, these I tried to do it sort of as how long I've had them, and here are a couple old friends. My Vacheron Constantin Historique Américaine 1921. This is one of those watches I liked from when I first saw it, and still like it. I was able to get it because there was something they called the Asian crisis. It was back in 2016, I think, right around there. And so they had sent a lot of watches to Asia, not just Vacheron Constantin, but some other ones. And there had been a Chinese government crackdown on bringing watches back for bribery, so a lot of them weren't sold, and so they had to send them back. That's the time to get it during the crisis, not your own, somebody else's. The next one is the Harry Winston Premier Biretrograde. This watch turned out to be sort of a gateway to a lot of other things, mainly Agenor. The retrograde movement for the second and the day of the week were by Agenor, and so I wrote them to find out more about it, and ended up really meeting some wonderful people there. So that has meaning beyond that. Gold, it's got a Girard-Perregaux caliber sort of underneath, and then it's got an AGH 2351, which is sort of this module that has a biretrograde on it. Now, these next two are my two FP Journes. I'm not sure why I liked FP Journes. I liked them when I first got them, and I still like them. The one on the left is the Chronomètre Souverain. It has double barrels in parallel. It's a platinum case. It's one of my favorite watches. I don't know why. I just love to wear it. The other one is the Chronomètre Resonance, and it attracted me because when I learned how resonance works and why it was important and interesting, it was very interesting horology. I thought, well, I'll try to get one, and I found one. Again, this is at a time, just to, not even, around 2016, 2017, right in there, when you could get some very good buys on some excellent watches. These next two, the little blue one, it's big. In fact, the name of it is Grande XL. I mean, both Grande and extra large. Love this watch. It's sort of a robin egg blue. Took me a year to negotiate the price I wanted. I finally got it. I felt bad for the guy. It was like this guy bothering him about his watch. And it lasted, the time on it was a little slow, I think, ever since I got it. So I had it for a couple years, and then all of a sudden the stem came out. It didn't work. So I sent it to the Parmigiani place to get it fixed. They have it. It's in the U.S. It's in Miami. Whoa, they did a great job, and the thing has been like a brand new watch ever since. The Hemisphere, the Tonda Hemisphere, that watch is, to me, is the ideal travel watch, because not only does it have dual dual time zones, and you can set it to offsets like in India and some other places that are at the half hour when everybody else is at the hour. And you have two night and day indicators, which is very helpful. So the band I put on, it's a Gator band. A friend of mine sent me that, and it's just like, love that band on that. By the way, too, it's sort of another thing. I know a lot of people say, I only have my, in-house bands. I like them too, but I also like to experiment with other bands. And AB, two band making companies, uh, ABP, so French ones, ABP Concepts Paris. That was that one, and I love them. They're great, and they ship Gator bands without all of the, I don't know what they must have all of the right paperwork. They never have a problem getting one from them. Great company. The other one is Jean Rousseau. They're another Paris one, but they have a shop in New York, and so you can get them through that without. I mean that, and I worked with them directly. Great people. Okay, moving right along. Next to Urban Jorgensen. I always liked Urban Jorgensen, but I could never afford one. And I think the cheapest one at the time was 34,000, which was quite a bit more than I had. And then one day, I came across Federico at the Del Rey Watches. Somehow had gotten his mitts on all of the FP Journe watches that they were discontinuing when Kerry Wooten Lannon bought it. And Rancher and I jumped at him. So I was able to afford one, and I love that watch. I really do, and it's an amazing watch. Beauvais 1822, 1930. A friend of mine was able to get a good deal for me on this one. Fantastic deal, right when they came out. And there were two of them, two models. This one, which is called the 1930 Fluier, and then they had another one called the 1930 Demier. Well, I was going to get the Demier because the Demier had pretty standard, just regular lugs on it. And Richard Treven said, "What do you, why don't you get a watch like that? Why don't you get it with the, the bow and crown and the bar lug, and make it look like." Oh, okay, and I did. Best decision I ever made. I've always been thankful to Richard for that too. so there. These two are very unusual watches for my collection. The Longines Ephemeridis Solaris has a equation of time, night and day. This was from 1989, and they had a 150-year celebration. And this is a watch they came out with, and it is amazing. It's the only watch I have. In fact, it's the only watch I know of. Doesn't mean there aren't plenty of them. It has a little bezel lock at the bottom. You can see it down there at the bottom. And the little thing you pull down, and you move the bezel, and you set it to the month, and all of the calculations are done, and it'll show you where the solar time is in relation to the time on watches. The band, I got a band for it. Again, I went to ABP Concepts Paris and got a nice Gator band. Anyway, I like bands. This next one is a Beauvais Mono Rattrapant with a Valjoux 84 in it. I got this a number of years ago. This was considered new old stock, and they had found a bunch of these, and they'd been put away for a long time, and nobody paid any attention to them. Then they found some, and the thing about this watch is a mono rattrapant concept is that how do you have mono rattrapant? Because rattrapant implies two hidden seconds, and all of a sudden they come out, and you can have race two times at the same time. Well, with only one hand to do the rattrapant, the way they do it is interesting. You set it off, and then when you get to the first finish, like two people racing or something, then you press it down, and then the old minute hand keeps on going. Well, it shows you where the first timing was, and so you make a note of that. And then when the second one finishes, you release it, and it comes to the new one. So you're able to get two timings. Monoretropone. Rare bird. This watch I may sell, not because I don't like it, but because it's such a cool watch that I just don't do much with. So, but what a neat watch. It's, it's one of those watches in my collection that some watches I've sold this last year, not because they're not nice watches. It's just I just don't do anything with them because I've got these other watches I'm playing with. Okay. These two are two Daniel Roth, and I'm a real big Daniel Roth fan, and also a Roger Dubuis. I had two different Roger Dubuis that I sold. There wasn't that I didn't like it, they were both great, but there was this other Roger Dubuis that I wanted, and the only way I could afford them was to sell the other one. So I'm still waiting to get the other one. The first one on the left is a Metropolitan, which is an unusual watch in two ways. The first way is that you have whatever city is 12 hours, exactly 12 hours different than the one you're in. Like I have it set to New York and Bangkok, also Beijing and China, a lot of other places are exactly 12 hours different. But the thing about this watch, at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, is I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a little W by the 10 and a little S by the 8. And what that is that they're two pin pushers off to the side. And one is for winter and the other is for spring or summer. And so when you go on to daylight saving time, you push the bottom pusher and it jumps. See, it jumps ahead an hour. And then in the fall, you push the other one and it goes back an hour. So it's sort of a cool thing. On the right, the Daniel Roth Premier Retrograde, this one, another one, I just absolutely love this one. They have the retrograde on the hours, and it goes from 6 to 6. And then it also has a hand date, which is another thing I like. I really like hand dates, much better than the little windows. So these are two fun watches. They're both stainless steel and fun to have. These next two, another two I really, really like. So the Van Cleef and Arpels, a friend of mine, they found that one for me. White gold, just love it. This one was a watch with a movement that was fully done by Jean-Marc Wiederreich. And it's the only movement other than the what's it called, the Agengraph chronograph movement, that I know that he did the whole movement. He's done a lot of other things. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other ones, but this is the only one I have, and it has dual time. It's also the only watch I know of with not just dual time, but dual time jumping hours and then retrograde minutes. I love this watch. Up at the top up there, you can see there's my showing off my loop from the Horological Society of New York with this little escapement wheel logo. To the right is another one. I never thought I'd be able to get this one too, because it was really expensive. And one day I found one and I offered the guy what I could pay, and he took it. And it's really interesting because when I got it, it worked fine for about, I don't know, a couple of weeks, a long time. But I'd gotten everything with it. I mean, I got the papers, the box, and everything. And so there's a Chanel watch store in New York City. So I took it over there and told them what the problem was. And the problem was, it was simply when it was time to have the hour jump, it didn't jump. The movement on this was under the guidance of and in part made by Romain Gauthier. It's a watchmaker I could never afford because they're really expensive. So I was able to get a Romain Gauthier movement. The The watch itself it's just been amazing. By the way, too, I finished the story. They took the watch, Chanel did, fixed it up beautifully, didn't charge me a nickel for it, and it's been great ever since. I think what there was, a friend of mine also got one, and he had almost exactly the same problem, so he figured probably a structural problem. And I think they put a whole new movement in there because not even a hint of the old problem. Gotta hand it to Chanel. They're doing some seriously good stuff with horology now. Okay, these two watches are fun, wonderful watches. One by Chaumet and the other is by Fabergé, both of which are identified with either sort of jewelry uh, rather than watches. However, both of them have some great stuff, great horology. This particular one, the Chaumet Dandy Arty Open Face, who's gonna wear that with a patent leather strap? Love this watch. It has two great big Agenais gears in it. Agenais, again, this is a what do they call it? Property, an intellectual property of Jean-Marc Wiederreich. And what they are, they have these little teeth, and in between the teeth they have a spring, so there's no slippage. And this particular one has like a little Ferris wheel that's slowly turning. Thing is that this is not something most watch collectors would give two looks at, even if they gave one look with a name like that. Wonderful, wonderful watch. I love this watch. It's got an ETA underneath, 2892-2 movement. Not, top-notch horology, but boy, the AGH 4202FP, which is the Agenor module on it, is just fantastic. Love this watch. Fabergé Alexei caliber 1857. This watch is again, this one is a watch that I saw, and it had a good price on it, and so I lowballed the good price and got it. And all of a sudden, here I've got this watch. It's white gold. It has hand turned guilloche, and it's got a Frederick Piguet movement. I mean, I picked it up for very little, and I just love this watch. Now there's another band that I got that's some kind of Python band, I think, that I got from ABP Concepts Paris. It is sort of my dragon scale band is what it feels like. This watch it's the smoothest, nicest watch. I had no business buying it, but I did. So, I mean, what can I say? Now, these two watches are my German watches. The first one, Lang & Heim. This one I got when Marco Lang was still running Lang & Heim. To me, he's one of the very best living watchmakers, among the very, very tip top. He's also a member of the independent watchmakers. This guy is fantastic. So love this one. And then this one, now I put a metal band on it, but I wanted to give you a picture of how it came. The Merz Grossmann Atum Pure H. I love these watches from day one, except they were way too expensive. I found this guy in Dubai had this watch, and he had it for a Merz Grossmann. This is unworn. I said, heck yeah. So I contacted him, and he sent it. We negotiated, not a lot, because that thing was so affordable at the time. So There it is. And then I got this Ming bracelet. Let me recommend anybody who wants to get a metal bracelet. The ones by Ming are very nice, and they fit a lot of different watches. I really like the black gator one with the green stitching on it that goes with this. But anyhow, so much for that. Now, these two watches are, again, two watches that are, what can I say? These are by Larique. Now, Larique is a group of us. Larique is really sort of a cooperative. And what we did, we went directly to the watchmakers, the case makers, the movement makers, the hand makers, the band makers, everybody, and a great designer. And this was the one on the left is the first one. Now I went and got a Jean Rousseau band, shiny red gator band. It's called Bigaroo, which is a type of cherry color. Love this watch. The other one is Larique number 2. And the movement was slightly different. The first one was AGH 6801, and the second one was 6802. Both of these watches have one Agenais gear in it, the ones that so you end up with a really smooth second hand, and then they also have the what's called Agenpit regulator, and that's a special regulator made. That's another intellectual property. Anyway, these two watches, we're working on our third one now, and there's a fourth one just getting going. By the way, too, the reason that we did these watches is that we really appreciated top watchmakers, and you can't get any better, in my opinion, than Agenor. And so it's for that we did it. And so by grouping together and taking things from the start, not that it's easy, because it turned out to be very challenging, especially on the second one, but yeah, you learn a lot. Now, finally, these two I just got recently, and again, this is something very strange. They're both Parmigiani. They're both watches that I absolutely love. The Parmigiani Fleurier Ovale Pantograph was one that I saw years ago. I went to a Patek Philippe in New York had sort of a traveling museum, and I went to that, and I saw something with the telescopic hands on it, and I thought, how cool is that? Because on an oval shape, they have to be long for the 6 and 12, and then short for 9 and 3. And so they thought, oh, we can fix that. We'll put in these telescopic hands. Finally, and I got it for a price I could afford. Those things, I think originally this particular model was around 55,000 Swiss francs. Again, it's just so far. And so usually what I do with watches like that is forget about them. And because, I admire them. There are a lot of watches I know I can't ever have, but I don't obsess over them. I just forget about it. But then they come along, and this happened with more than one. So, there's something you really like, you can't afford, keep an eye open, and something may come your way. Now, the final one I got, this is Parmigiani Fleurier Tonda 1950 Lune. Again, this was something this particular model was dropped by Parmigiani. They got this new guy in there, and he's sort of trying to redo everything design on this one. This one, I think I wouldn't want it redesigned. It has the Northern Hemisphere's moon phase. I'm really not much into moon phase, but when they have it that way, it's pretty cool. It even comes with a little pusher, so you can change the moon phase. They have a little pusher, a pin pusher, and you just sort of pop it, and the old moon phase goes around. Anyway, I had some other things this last year too, and I had some things that I still have that were, I found this. This is a Farve Luba Twin Power. Now these are like, they were under $100, really cheap watches. Farve Luba used to be Swiss, or came to be owned by a big company in India. Anyway, to make a long story short, these are great deals. And the reason I got one was that they're one of the few watches, especially a few affordable watches, that have dual barrels and parallel. And that is one of the things for adding to constant force. And then still have my old reliable Seiko 5. And then I have my collection of Jacquet 736 movements, and one I gave away. So I don't know. I might sell that whole collection. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you got any comments or questions, I'd really like to hear from you guys. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the Art and Science of Watch Collection. Remember, this is always an opportunity to subscribe. Take care.